The challenge that we have right now is that if someone comes in and places a new order, and we are able to take an order, and we need to be able to make sure that the quantity that is being ordered is less than the inventory for the particular product. So we know that right here are the quantities that are available. We want to make sure that when someone enters a number into this order quantity field, that this field is going to validate against the available inventory to make sure that that inventory is available. So how this works is that there's a feature in Salesforce called validation rules. So by validation rules, when you're about to enter some data into a field, it will compare it against another field and validate that data. And in our particular case, what we want to do is we want to create a validation rule on quantity ordered, and then when the user types in a number in the quantity order, whatever number it may be, and when they click save, it's going to validate it against the inventory to quantity available to make sure that that quantity is available for us to be able to take that order. And we will also learn how to update the quantity available through a separate process. So let's go ahead and implement a validation rule. The way you implement a validation rule is you make your way back to your objects. So through setup, you come down to expand out create, and you click on objects, and the validation rule is going to be on the field called order quantity, which is a part of the order object. So we will go into the order object, and this is our the characteristics of our object. And if you scroll down, it says custom fields and relationships and related lookup fields, and then there it says validation rules right here. So we will create a new validation rule, and the first aspect of the validation rule is it's asking us what's the name of the validation rule. So we will call it check inventory, and then if so I've just put a little description in here that's going to check against the available stock to make sure that we have enough inventory available or not. So the way validation rules work is that they have to evaluate to true for there to be an error message. So if I say in here that a very simple way of validation rule would be that and so this is a formula editing area where you would write in the formula. A very simplest way of looking at this validation rule is that I insert a field, and the field that I insert is quantity ordered, and I check to see if quantity ordered is greater than I insert another field from food inventory, which is quantity available. So this is the simplest way of looking at it. So if this ends up being true, then the answer is going to be is not enough inventory. So the error message is going to be there's not enough inventory, and then it's asking us where should the error show up. We say next to the field, and we click save. So this is the most simplest way of making this validation rule. So if I come over here and so we'll see that this chicken Alfredo has 90,000 units, and we will create a new order, and we will pick chicken Alfredo, and instead of 90,000 units we will type in 100,000 units. And if I click save, it gives me an error message, there's not enough inventory. So that's the very simplest way of looking at a validation rule. It went to the main inventory and checked against an inventory, and it said that's not enough inventory, so it said there is not enough inventory, and that's how the rule worked. And so if I put in 90,000 and I click save, it takes the order, and so order number 4 is 90,000 units of chicken Alfredo. So we will learn how to update the field as well, because as of right now we've taken a 90,000 order, but this number has not changed. So I'll refresh the view over here. This 90,000 is still the same. So we will in the near future, we're going to cover how to change this number as well. That's through workflow rules. But right now what we want to do is we want to write a validation rule that checks against the inventory, and it checks against the inventory in such a way that if it's a new order versus if it's an old order. So a new order means if you're writing a new order, then it's going to check against the inventory to see if it's greater or less than the inventory. And if it's a changed order, let's say that you first took an order of 50,000 and then you took another order of 60,000, then it has to check against the difference. It will not check against the 50,000, or it will not check against the 60,000. It will check against the difference of 10,000. So so if you edit a field, then it should check against the difference, not the prior value. It should know the difference between the prior value versus the current value. And so you'll see what I mean when you look at the equation I'm going to write. So I'm going to write a simple if statement. So this is how an if statement works. I'm going to just put in we'll use we'll just use what SalesForce offers us. So on the right hand side, SalesForce offers us all these statements. So we will select the function by clicking insert function. So it says if logic test is true, value of true. If logic test is false, value of false. So what we're going to say is that there's going to be a logic test, and if it is true, then we're going to check to see whether the two values are greater than or less than, and then we're going to do a second if. So I'll just go ahead and highlight the value of if false, and the second if statement is going to do another logic test to see if it is an existing value that is being changed. So when we take a new order, when we click a new order, the new order is going to create a new record, and so the first we want to see is that if it's a new order. So the logic test is this first logic test. There is a function in SalesForce, which is called isNew. So the first logic test is new. If the field is new and you leave it blank because it is testing it on a particular field, so it's already testing it on the particular record. So you don't need to put anything in this bracket over here. So it's testing to see if this record that you're creating, if it's a new record, then we want to do a logic test. The logic test that we want to do for a new record is that we will insert a field, and the field that we want to insert is that we want to check for if the quantity ordered is greater than, we click on insert field again, quantity available. So this is orders, food inventory, and quantity available. So if quantity ordered is greater than quantity available, then this test evaluates to true. Yes, that's true. So it's going to give us an error message. It's going to say there is not enough inventory. This is in case when we are creating a new record. However, if we are editing an existing record or an old record, then we need to have a separate if statement to just test for that existing record. So the logic test that we want to have for an existing record is that, I'm going to highlight this logic test. So there is a feature, or there's a function of Salesforce, which is called prior value. So what we want to see is if now first we'll insert the field which is quantity ordered or order quantity is less than the prior value, which is then the prior value is the function, and for the field that we want to check the prior value for, we'll insert the quantity ordered. So what we're testing for is if the quantity ordered is less than the prior value of the quantity ordered. Then if it's less than the prior value of the quantity ordered, then we don't need to worry about anything, because that means that our we already have enough on the inventory, because we have already tested and we would have already updated. In the next step, we will be updating the actual field. So if the new quantity ordered is less than the prior quantity or the change in quantity value, so you came and you wanted to buy 5,000 pizzas, but then you came back and you said, no, I only want 4,000 pizzas. So we had 5,000 pizzas, which we had tested against the inventory. So then we can confidently say that we definitely have 4,000 pizzas. So your order is less than the prior value. So if now the logic test is, if the quantity ordered is less than the prior value of quantity ordered, then we don't have anything to be concerned about. So we will call this false, because you have to see the error comes when the value results in true. So the false is fine. So you say false. And if this logic test of order quantity less than prior value of order quantity is not true, that means that the new number that you entered is greater than the prior number. So you ordered 5,000 pizzas before, you went home, you said, no, I want 6,000 pizzas. You come back and you said, well, I want 6,000 pizzas instead. So now we need to see whether we have enough inventory for the remaining 6,000 pizzas. So the logic test for that is, I'm going to highlight this value of false and make a bracket for us within which we're going to create this logic test. Is going to be quantity ordered. I'm just going to highlight quantity ordered minus, well, it says less than the prior value of quantity ordered. So I'm going to copy this. I'm going to paste it in here. And so the quantity ordered minus the prior value of quantity ordered, which is going to give us the difference. So the prior value was 5,000, new value is 6,000. We want to see if this is less than, and we'll insert a field here, which is food inventory and quantity available. So now it's testing against whether this is less than quantity available. If it is less than quantity available, then it's going to evaluate to true, which is going to give us the error. And so we don't, so quantity, order quantity minus prior value. So this was 6,000 minus 5,000, which is 1,000, is less than quantity available. So actually this has to be not less than, it has to be greater than. So greater than quantity available. So that means if we had prior value was 6,000 and then prior value was 5,000, new value is 6,000, so 1,000 is greater than quantity available. If it is greater than quantity available, then it's going to give us a true, which is going to give us an error. So we'll keep the error next to the field. We'll click on save. So now you can see that our validation rule is complete here, and this is our validation rule. Here's the formula for our validation rule. And now let's go ahead and test our validation rule. So we're going to test our validation rule by, right now I've changed the number for the chicken Alfredo to 5,000, and we're going to come here and we will create a new order, and we will place an order for chicken Alfredo, and we will place an order for, well, we'll try to place an order for 6,000. It should give us an error. So we place an order for 6,000, it gives us an error because we only have 5,000 available. So then we place an order for 5,000, or we'll place an order for 4,000, and we click save, and the order saves because we have 5,000 units available, and 4,000 is less than 5,000, so it works. So now this is, let's say we go back and we try to edit it. So right now the value is 5,000. Let's say we want to 15,000. If we try to edit and input 15,000 and save it, it gives us an error again, and it says that there is not enough inventory available. And that's how you implement a validation rule. Up next, we're going to implement a workflow rule through which we'll be able to update the inventory values for our food inventory.